Have you ever wondered if lifting heavier weight or lifting more of it, so more repetitions, is the key to muscle growth? Which one of those two is actually going to help you reach your muscle building potential? So in this video, I'm going to dive into some of the key issues on this hot topic of whether it's load or repetitions that actually help you build muscle. Where should your focus be? Pumping out as many repetitions as you can, so focusing more on volume, or should it be focusing on more of the heavier weights and load being the priority? The answer might just surprise you. So getting this particular question right could be a bit of a game changer. I know people who have progressed remarkably once they've understood the relationship or the separation between load and repetitions. So let's get into it. Progressive overload, that's the key principle that we're talking about here. It underlines everything in the conversation about progressing your physique, be it strength or size or endurance. Progressive overload is what you need to understand, really have a solid grasp of it, and then how to apply it. And that's what we'll do today, is have a look at how to apply progressive overload into your lifestyle, into your routine, into however you want to frame it in terms of the work that you're doing in the gym. And of course, no surprises, there are two types of progressive overload we'll look at today. The first is the amount of weight that we're lifting. So how heavy should you go? And the second one is repetitions. So the volume of what you're doing. How much volume should you be doing in order to progress to your potential? And of course, the ultimate goal here is to figure out which one is more appropriate for you. Should you be looking to lift as heavy as you possibly can, for as long as you can, as much as you can, or should your focus be on repetitions and increasing that amount? Bit of a key insight for you is that both are very effective. The challenge and the stumbling block of so many people is actually how to implement it. And it goes back to understanding progressive overload, is how do I actually take the weight or utilize the number of repetitions that I'm doing and make it work for you in the gym. Now, the problem I've found over the years is that there's so much contradictory information out there, and it all depends on who you listen to. People are labelled as fitness professionals, however they obtain that label, who knows, and they will say one thing. And then you'll have other people, maybe bodybuilders, athletes, fitness competitors, lecturers, whoever, and they'll say something else. And the problem is that both arguments kind of make sense, and it kind of leaves you thinking, well, what do I actually do and what's actually correct? So it's hard when you've got all this information floating around. One of the key objectives, I suppose, is to filter that out and figure out what is correct, or more importantly, what will work for you, what will gel with your thought process, and what will work in the gym the best for you. So among that debate about what's the best way to do things, weight or repetitions, it brings you on to strength training, and what is the best way to increase the strength that you have, and will that then lead to increased muscle size because you are able to do more in the gym than before, therefore stimulating the muscle for more growth? Very interesting and fascinating subject. Maybe it's just me, but I absolutely love it. So that's one of the key questions, is how to actually improve strength, how to go about it. And one of the other concerns really for me is the confusion among trainers that are out there. If you go to your regular public gym or private gym, whatever you think, and then you go to a professional training outfit, maybe a local sporting team or something along those lines, and ask all these fitness professionals the same question, you're going to get all these different answers, and it's that confusion amongst trainers that leads to different kinds of advice, and that advice then spreads across the grapevine People chit chat about it. It works its way into various essays and textbooks, YouTube channels, TikTok, whatever it might be. And this information just becomes entangled in society and you can't really make sense of it. And that's what I just want to break down today. So, muscle growth. You might have heard of it referred to as muscle hypertrophy. It's quite a common term. Same sort of thing. It's the diameter of a muscle, so how big it is. And this goes back to progressive overload. It's the number of repetitions that you do and the load that you're placing on the muscle that makes it grow. Simple as that, really. And over time, you just increase the weight, increase the repetitions, and that will challenge the muscle further and further and further away from its original starting capability. And as a result, your muscle will grow in size. And then we have muscle strength. The way that that slightly differs is that it's all about how the brain is connecting with the muscle via motor neurons. It's learning motor skills. And that skill part is the key component. When you become stronger, you are recruiting more muscle fibers, and your brain is learning how to use those muscle fibers in the most effective way, how to fire off the signals, when to fire off the signals, so that your body can do something really smoothly and it can lift something really heavy really well. And that as you grow your muscle size, then those muscle fibers are available and they are stronger and they're better. And then when you recruit them, you're able to do remarkable things. That's sort of in a nutshell there about muscle strength. And this is closely correlated to the amount of weight that you're lifting. In order to build really good strength, you have got to challenge the muscle with the appropriate load, so that it can then go ahead and learn how to connect to, the most amount of muscle fibers, how to recruit them properly, and learn the skill of being smooth and efficient with what you're lifting. And that kind of goes back to the whole issue of form and technique and how smooth you are, how much control you have over that weight. Because the stronger that you are, generally your form has helped you get there. Becoming stronger and smoother and more efficient at lifting a weight is because you've become a real master of form and technique, and it becomes part of naturally what you do, especially linked to the sport that you're doing, or simply getting stronger in the gym as mastering the movements that you're doing with the weights, bicep curl or chest press, shoulder press, row, whatever it might be. You're doing that in such a controlled, well performed and executed manner that contributes towards building tremendous strength within that muscle and its ability to do that movement. And I think variability as well is a massively important point to touch on or to really examine. I think more of a touch is required, an examination, really get stuck into this subject of variation. So I think the key part to focus on this is that when you start, you're starting with a weight. And let's say it's, 30 kilos. So with that 30 kilos, it's got to be challenging. So it's challenging to lift that, and you can lift it for, let's say, 5 repetitions. And that's when you're getting pretty close to, or perhaps you have reached failure and you can't do any more. Now that's the first set, and you might do 3 sets of 5. Then the next time that you do that weight, then you perhaps do a 6, a 5 and a 5. And after that you'll do a 7, a 6 and a 5. And over time you'll gradually build up to where those 5 repetitions now seem like yesterday's news, and you can do closer towards 10. Now, you've started with the heavy weight, and you've now progressed through that, and you're lifting more and more repetitions. When you get to enough repetitions, go back, lift more weight, and repeat the process again. So you're never just focusing on just the load, you're also focusing on the number of reps over time. And then the variation comes in, because rather than carrying on and continuously doing 30 kilos until rep 15, 20, 25, you'll reach a point where you stop and you think, right, I want more of a challenge now, and I want to increase the weight so I can get stronger. And you will go to 35, 3 sets of 5, build up again to whatever it is you want to get to. And over time, months and years, you will gradually increase that weight from where you started to wherever you end up. And in doing so, you will transition between the number of reps that you're doing, anywhere from 3 or 4 sometimes, up to 8 or 10, 12, 13, whatever your goals are. So it's a constant cycle between the load and the reps that will get you to where you go, not just a concentration on I must lift the most weight that I can at all times, and certainly not I must lift 12, 10, 8 reps all the time. Because you'll always start off stronger and you'll end up weaker at the end of a workout. So it makes sense to start really heavy and do more reps to then end on a heavy weight, if not the same starting heavy weight, and doing far fewer reps because you don't have enough gas in the tank anymore. So you're always going to be starting stronger and finishing weaker, and in that transition you will go through a number of repetitions with volume. And the same will be that same model over time. That same concept will apply. So that variation in training is something to embrace, incorporate, be aware of, and go through. And that will help you to both gain strength and size depending on how you utilize that technique. So let's sum this up, shall we? First point is the best of both worlds. Not strength with just the load, not muscle growth with just the volume. Transition between the two naturally, depending on where you start, where you go to, when you reset the cycle. It all depends on your approach, but don't be afraid to dip into both worlds of load and volume. Second point really would be to start with the load. Get something that is challenging, really challenging for you, and that you get to that 5 rep mark and you're close to, if not at failure, and build from there. Go through the weights, go through the repetition, and just make sure that you're always challenging yourself, and that progressive overload is always really prominent, and you can be sure that you are progressing via an overload. I think one final takeaway then, the last point, is that it's not all one size fits all. There are a number of factors that determine how good you are in the gym, how well you react to the stress that you're putting on your body, because there's a lot of stress. If you are lifting a weight that's taking you close to or to failure, it's a lot of stress. And sometimes people will get so caught up in the gym routine, those around them and what they're doing, that they don't remember this. But always listen to your body, take care of yourself, and do what is appropriate to you, so long as you can be sure that you are employing progressive overload and that you are focusing on some of the heavier weights. So you get into a certain number of reps and then you go right back to the way you were and start the cycle again. If you're conscious of doing that and always lifting the most weight that you can, or at least that takes you close to or to failure, then you can be sure that that approach is the correct one for you. You'll get the bigger guys lifting less weight than you, and sometimes you'll get the people that are smaller than you lifting heavier weight. And that's all well and good. They've got their own things going on. There's a lot of variations and variables in there that explain those things. But focus on you, what you're doing, what you have done, what you want to do, where you're going, and that should be the progressive overload that works for you in terms of reps and in terms of volume of weight. So I'm Simon from the Deep South Experiment. Hope you've enjoyed this content and it's been of some value to you. You know what to do if you like it to help the channel grow, and I will see you again next time.